As a mom, it was really hard to watch your baby in severe pain. He had really bad gestational problems. Kids are like purest form of creatures on this earth, and the maternal health nurse always tried to give me solutions to the symptoms, but never the cause.
What was the sort of spark in your head to do something about this?
I felt like I had to take it up in my own hands in a way, because if this worked for me, imagine how many people out there this could help. We just took what our kids liked and tried to make it more nutritious, and then developed So Nourished when it came to the gut and brain health. That's exactly how So Nourished started.
Why do you think the existing brands on the market, they don't do that?
We are trying to put out in the world what we would give to our kids. So it wasn't a hard decision for me to make. And it was more about bringing this out in the world and educating people about what children need now. There's always going to be a reason why somebody doesn't believe in what you're doing. But as long as I can help as many families as possible, then I'm happy to sacrifice profits.
Safa, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, wonderful to have you and to talk about So Nourished. And it's a fairly unique story because it's a very personal story to yourself, right? So yeah, introduce yourself. Let me know like how the idea started.
So the idea actually started just super organically. I was pregnant with my daughter, and I had a 6-month-old at home. And he was basically starting his solids journey, and I had really bad morning sickness. And I kind of just relied on packaged foods, what I thought would be nutritious at the time, because I didn't know much, to be honest. And fast forward, when he was about a year old, he had really bad gestational problems. So he would be in severe pain every time he would go to the bathroom. As a mom, it was really hard to watch your baby go through that. So I would go to like the maternal health nurse, and I would be like, my son's in pain every time he goes to the bathroom. And I found that they always try to give me solutions to the symptoms, but never the cause, because every time I would stop using what they would give me, my son would have these problems again. So I kind of felt like I had to take it up in my own hands to do something about it. And randomly one day I decided to speak to a friend of mine, Nina, who's now actually my business partner. And she has a neurodivergent child who struggles to feed, because he's got sensory issues when it comes to food. So she kind of had to like develop her own method when it came to feeding him. She sent me a recipe about using bone broth with hidden veg, and it turned it into like a patty. I was not gonna lie, I was super skeptical because my son's a super picky eater, but I did it anyways. And he ended up eating it, and he went to the bathroom really fine the next day. So I was like in shock, and I went into like a deep dive of nutrition, of ingredients. And I went back to her and I said, "Hey, it worked." Um, I saw an opportunity in a way, because I said to her, "Well, if this worked for me and it worked for your son, imagine how many people out there this could help." And that's pretty much what happened, really. It was based off a few chats.
That's amazing. And I think you definitely hit on something because it's not just in terms of, babies and toddlers and kids or whatever, but this is a wider revolution of people going to more basic ingredients and going away from processed foods and things like that. This it's not just them, but of course, if you start your life on, foods that irritate your gut and things like that, then of course, it starts your life on a bad note.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there was heaps of times where I would go to the grocery store, sorry, and I would spend so long in the baby's food section, and I would pick up a product, I would read the back of ingredients and I would put it back. I would pick up another product. I would spend so long just kind of looking for what we've done now with So Nourished, and I felt like nothing was really what I was looking for.
Why were you putting them back? Like what was wrong with them?
I just found that there were so many unnecessary ingredients that shouldn't be in a small child's diet. I mean, the way that everything is out in the world when it comes to ingredients. The way that you can package something from the front of the product, and then you look at the ingredients at the back, it just doesn't match. And after I started learning about additives and preservatives and processed foods, I knew that there was nothing there for my children. So um, I was fortunate enough to learn all of these things and then developed So Nourished when it came to the gut and brain health. And that's everything that I've learned was through me starting what I'm doing now. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So what was the initial goal? I guess when you started So Nourished. So you saw all these products out there for babies and kids, and they had a lot of processed ingredients in them, and unnecessary ingredients, as you said. What was what was the sort of spark in your head, being like, we need to do something about this?
I felt like the variety for picky eaters and neurodivergent children was almost unavailable. I knew that my son wouldn't eat anything of those shelves, and I knew that my business partner had the same problem. So that's when we kind of had to create something that we needed, and we knew that there were so many other picky children out in the world and neurodivergent children who lacked the nutrition, and we just wanted to kind of be like, okay, well, this you can make your children's favorite foods, but make it more nutritious with this rather than buy this, feed it to your child, because we knew that that wasn't going to be an option. And that was the moment that changed everything for us, really.
And what was the first product? Like, what was the story behind that? Because I've spoken to a lot of food founders, and that first product takes a long time, and it's a lot of hard work. So yeah, talk me through that story.
So, our product range is some of our products are it's available, but not in the way that we make it. So you'll find like certain ingredients in there, certain additives in there, and it's just not designed for children. And we really had to find out what's the best way to make this as nutritious as possible for neurodivergent children and children from 6 months plus. So we knew that we couldn't have salt in it. We knew that we needed to keep it simple. And our base products kind of led us to our more complex products where we have our boosty cubes, for example, where you can use it in smoothies and you can use it in baking. It's just that extra bit of nutrition. And we developed it in a way that the pickiest eaters would approve. Um, and the process behind it was basically our kids. Like we just took what our kids liked and tried to make it more nutritious. And then after that, we went to the kitchen. We started experimenting. Would even call up all our family and friends and be like, "Hey, can I drop this off at your house? Like, is this okay? Can you try it?" And that's pretty much how we started with all the products that we have.
And what was the first product?
The first products actually was our broths and the tallow, and we have marrow butter. So those products were the products that we came up with at launch, and those products are essentially everything we use now with our other products. So it's the base. So we've got the bone broths, and then you've got the tallow, and then you've got the marrow butter, and we've got the boosty cubes, which is like a smoothie but with bone broth, hidden veg, everything that a child needs for their development, basically.
Safa, I need to ask you, because this all sounds so logical. Quite honestly, it sounds like you have to give your babies and your kids the most sort of nutritionally dense and just nutritionally sound foods without all the sort of additions. I need to ask you, why do you think the existing sort of brands and the existing things on the market, on the shelves that you were putting back, why do you think that they don't do that?
I think it's mostly about texture, about flavor, and I don't know, making cheaper products, I guess. But the way that it's made, it's so processed to the point where there's nothing actually nutritional inside anymore. I feel like before people weren't so educated about this, and now more people are informed. So you'll see a lot of new brands, about the existing products that are out there, but more simple. And um and I don't know. For us, we just try to keep it as simple as possible without compromising on our ingredients, no matter what the cost is. At the end of the day, we are trying to pretty much put out in the world what we would give to our kids. And if we weren't comfortable giving our kids this, then that's something that we can't put out. And a lot of the time, it's about improving the texture. Like, for example, we have this new product that's coming out soon, and it's so hard to make without this extra ingredient that's an additive to make it more creamy, to make it more enjoyable in a way. And we've been rejected by so many manufacturers because, like, we can't do this because you're going to have one, two, three problems. And we kind of just been like, well, we can't have that because I can't serve that to my kids. So I'm not going to let other parents serve that to theirs. And a lot of the time it's about these things, about flavor enhancing and texture and shelf life. And yeah, that's,
Yeah.
from what I've found out, that's pretty much.
You know what? I feel like this is because you're right. It's to do with texture, it's to do with taste, and that makes sense to me. And I feel like the reason why people gravitate towards, say, processed foods as they get older is because they have them at the start of their lives because they're used to a certain level of flavor. They're used to that sort of texture, and quite honestly, it triggers things in your brain. And I've read about this in terms of dopamine receptors and things like that. That it triggers things in your brain where you want more of it, and it's just not healthy in the long term, and that's why we just gravitate towards these processed foods. And I have a strong feeling that the relationship with these processed foods starts off as a baby. So whenever I read about brands such as yourselves, I applaud you because I know it's not an easy thing because you're sacrificing profit, you're sacrificing scalability, you're sacrificing quite a lot of things in order to make something that, as you said, you would serve to your own kids or yourself serve to yourselves or whatever. So yeah, I like what you guys are doing for sure, but I know that there's challenges that come with it. So what are those challenges? So you talked about manufacturers rejecting you guys for certain products. Tell me about some other challenges when it comes to this, because I know education is also a huge piece of what you do.
Yeah, so we basically didn't have the negotiating power when it came to creating these types of products and making it profitable at the same time. So we kind of had to sacrifice profit at the beginning just to put this out in the world for people to be like, hey, take it back to traditions past, making it more convenient into people's homes. And one of the products that we actually had was, we weren't able to make the shelf life last long enough to be able to get a big order and negotiate on the prices. And we weren't about to sacrifice on that. So what we did was we basically said, okay, well, we're going to take this batch and we're going to let the consumer tell us if this is okay. Let the consumer tell us if the shelf life is fine. So we had to navigate around the shelf life of this certain product, and we would tell them, use this much, but freeze the rest. It's just as good, as just as nutritious. And yeah, so when it came to that type of things, we definitely sacrificed a lot of product, a lot of profits. We even had a external person come in and say to us, hey, if you don't do this, you're not going to make any money. And me and Nina were just like, okay, I'm sorry, but we can't. I guess we won't be profitable for a long time. And it was more about bringing this out in the world and educating people about what children need now, because I was one of those parents that didn't know much about these types of things. I was one of those parents where I needed something like this, and if I could help one or two parents out there learn what I learned and know that their kids are getting more nutritious meals at home, then I'm happy to sacrifice profits at the beginning. And and that's basically what we did.
Is there a long-term plan to profitability? Because you're right that in terms of the education piece, that's such a core part of this. Because you said the shelf life might be short, but you educate them to so when they would to buy the product, they would freeze it straight away, so the shelf life increases. once it's actually in the home. So yeah, tell me about, because on the podcast I've spoken to so many sort of social founders and founders that do stuff more for purpose, but there's always that discussion of, you know, purpose versus profit. And what are your sort of thoughts there?
So I actually had this problem with um, previous businesses where I would only focus on the profit side of things, but because I'm so passionate about what I'm doing now, is I thought forget the profits. I mean, sales and profits are so important to make a business thrive. But our intention with this would be starting to build trust with the audience, starting to build a community with people, just giving the parents that peace of mind and ease that mom guilt that we had before I was using these products on my kids. And I know that with what we're trying to achieve, I know that the profits will come eventually. And that's something that I aspire to later on, but it's not my focus now. And that's because of the passion that I have for it. So if you have passion for what you're doing and you believe in that this is going to help people and you want people to know about this so they can help them their kids, I'm going to have to sacrifice on the profit side and bringing the passion from the beginning. That's pretty much the you kind of have to pick and choose what you have to do at the beginning. And when it comes to this brand, we chose passion over profits, and we're going to continue doing that until one day hopefully we're profitable. which I which I think we will be because I can't see something like this not helping so many families out there and for them not to recommend it to other families. So,
Yeah, for sure. And as I said, I've spoken to so many founders on this podcast, and it seems like, especially with our sort of generation, purpose is such a strong pillar of what of why people do things and start businesses. And I've spoken to a lot of social founders or social enterprises or food products that aim to, remove the additives and remove all the preservatives, just, go back to the roots. And this is always a problem that I find. And it seems like with all of them, it seems like education is such a strong pillar when it comes to growing the business, because people have got used to a certain type of product. People have got used to convenience. People got used to certain things. The question I have for you, Safa, is how important is education in what you guys do? And if you're speaking more generally for other founders that are going down the similar route of more purpose-led businesses, what's the sort of advice that you would have for them?
this is difficult for me to answer, to be honest, because it's so personal. I mean, for me, that I saw what it did for my kids. And for me, my children are the driving force behind my passion. And if you find the reason why you did it and the reason why you need to keep going to educate people about this, um, I just think about all the other kids in the world that need it. So kids are like the purest form of creatures on this earth, and they need that development. They need nutrition as medicine. And my reason for doing this is for my kids and for other people's kids. So it wasn't a hard decision for me to make. And when it came to um, trying to educate people about it, I mean, there's always going to be a reason why somebody doesn't believe in what you're doing. But as long as I do my part and push it out to as many families as possible, then I'm okay with that. Yeah.
And talk to me in terms of that's the passion side of things, and then the education side of things. What have you seen that's worked the best when it comes to the education side of things?
I would say just having our proof of concept with our own kids. I mean, my business partner, her son was diagnosed with level 3 autism, and they basically told her that he wasn't going to live a normal life. And I'm not saying this is a cure or anything like that, but I've seen the way that he converses. I've seen the way that he plays with my kids. I've seen um, I've seen the way that he is so like a atypical child. And yes, of course, there's always going to be these symptoms. However, um, our the most important part of our education is that these products can ease the symptoms. And I've seen it with my own eyes. And that's pretty much what we can do. We can only talk about our own experiences and put it out in the world. And it's everybody's choice whether they want to believe it or they don't want to believe it. We don't have this fancy research team behind us, but we've done the research ourselves. We've partnered up with nutritionists who've told us the gut and the brain relationship. And if we continue talking about our own experiences and our own foundings, that's the only thing that we can do as a brand, basically. And I guess everybody else who's doing something similar where they have to educate, I guess they have to find out what their experiences are from using these products themselves, what their friends' experiences are, what experiences they've found from extensive research. And yeah.
So you think that personal story, that personal touch, that's got the most impact beyond say, obviously you still do the research, but beyond the research when it comes to helping people make more informed decisions and that education piece.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's for me, that's what I feel like would make me listen the most when it came to trying to get educated on a subject or vice versa. Um, if I know that other parents out there have struggled with what I've struggled with, and they're telling me, um, one, two, three, this product helped me with such and such, and talking about their own experiences and how it's helped their kids, that's exactly how So Nourished started because she told me about her experiences. She done all of this, and I tried it myself. So I think experience when it comes to educating is definitely something that plays a part in our brand. I recommend that people that are starting something um, that needs this educational route is to find out how it worked for them and let the world know, basically.
Mm. It's funny because as humans, like we like to think that we're rational, and we look at say data, and that's what would give us the most informed decisions. Really, from what I've seen, it's really the human connection is what sways the decision as far more than the data does. Whether that's wrong or right, that's for a different discussion. But from what I've seen from actual psychology, that's why on all these sort of adverts, it's not, instead of plastering data or whatever, it's usually people speaking about their own personal experiences, and that's just one person. However, a data set would encapsulate say 100, 10,000 people, whatever it is. But if you interview one person, that one person tells their story is very personal. It's similar to yours, and you can see the energy in their face, and their eyes light up or whatever. Like that resonates and informs people far more than like a big data set. It's very interesting. So I can see why that works so well for you guys, even though you've done both. You've done the data, but you've also got the personal stories. But it's interesting to hear that you guys, it's the personal side of things that really resonates the most with people.
Yeah, I mean, if Nina never came to me and told me try this because this helped my son, I probably, if she sent me an article saying, "Oh, such and such," I probably wouldn't have done it. I probably wouldn't have tried it, but I knew that it worked for her. So I was hoping that it would work for me, and that's what happened. And now I'm trying to do the same with the educational route is it worked for me, it worked for her, and I hope it works for you, basically.
Absolutely, absolutely. Safa, tell me, we're getting to the end of the podcast. So I want to hear what's coming up next for So Nourished.
What's coming up next? Well, we've got our favorite product that we've been working on for so long coming out soon. Um, this is basically a game changer for children who love a sweet treat. So there's always going to be a healthier alternative when it came to this, but we realized there wasn't actually a healthy option. So we took matters into our own hands and did it. So I don't know if I should say what it is, basically, but um, should I say it? I don't know.
It's up to you. It's up to you.
Yeah, so we're coming out with uh, popsicles, basically, that are so nutritious that you could give it to your kids for breakfast if you wanted to. It's got hidden vegetables, it's got bone broth, it's got whole foods, no additives, no preservatives, and it tastes just as good as a sugar-filled processed one. And this one is filled with gut health benefits and brain health benefits. That's what's next for us, but also, yeah, just we're going to be always innovating, always coming out with the newest product that our kids love, and because they are our biggest inspiration. So that's pretty much what's next for us, really.
That sounds amazing. I mean, forget about the kids. That's something that I would have. Like that sounds really cool.
We did test them on our husbands, we tested it on our kids, we tested it on our friends, and they were like, hey, I would eat this. Like, I wouldn't even give this to my kids if I would eat it myself.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that sounds amazing. A popsicle where it doesn't have that sort of sugar content, and you don't feel guilty about eating it. Like that's the main.
Exactly. And you don't feel guilty about giving it to your kids.
Yeah. Absolutely. That sounds amazing. Safa, we're getting to the end of the podcast, so I want to thank you so much for coming on. I support your mission so wholeheartedly. So I wish you the absolute best. How can people stay in touch with you and So Nourished going forward?
So you can find us on Instagram, so.nourished, sorry, and then you've got our website, so-nourished.com. You can find us on TikTok, So Nourished, and we'll be doing a lot of posting about our experiences, about our kids, about our products, and about our community. And we'd love for people to be a part of it, really. And if you tried our products, let us know how your kids liked it. Let us know about your experiences with it and how it helped your kids. And would love to hear all about it. It makes us jump up and down, honestly.
Amazing. Safa, thank you so much for coming on the podcast again. And I'm sure we'll talk very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you later.
Thank you so much for clicking on this episode of The Millennial Entrepreneur. The ambition of the podcast is to share relatable stories from young entrepreneurs doing some incredible things to inspire the next generation, including you listening wherever you are. We've been doing this podcast for over 3 years and the ambition has not changed. The only thing that has changed is the scale of where we want to go. We want to bring on bigger guests for you guys to show more and more relatable stories from young entrepreneurs across the world. The majority of you guys watching or listening haven't subscribed to the podcast yet. All you have to do is click that subscribe button wherever you're listening, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and that will allow us to bring on bigger guests and ask the questions that you really want to hear. And it really is that simple.